last part of social entrepreneurship that I'll be talking about to you is the idea of scaling. We mentioned it earlier this semester about scaling and about measuring impact, and show you how you can be thinking about measuring impact with your project. We've only got 3 weeks left, and when you're done with your project, you're going to go home for the summer. So you won't really have time to, in fact, go and measure what your impact of the project actually is. So, but I'll give you a way forward if you are interested in continuing on something like that. Some of you will be graduating, so you'll be moving on. But others, you'll still be at the school here. So, well, what I had on the screen here while you were getting seated and everything is Frog Design. Frog Design is an organization like IDEO that designs a lot of different things in the background that we use or that are iconic that we use. And what I wanted to do is show a video of Robert Fabricant. That was one of your readings that I don't have up for you, and I thought, well, it'd be better to show you a video. It'd be faster to do than to read his article. We'll talk about what he says about design and social value. And Frog Design in particular has created this process of being able to scale massive social design. But he says there's some problems that we have when we design to scale. And we'll talk about each of those. But first, let's look at what he has to say about the design process. So Fabricant is really big into the idea of collaboration and how groups get things done. But I liked how he was talking about how social value and business value come together, kind of at that nexus where design, and you guys have been following this design process the whole way and hopefully creating some kind of value with what your project is trying to achieve. And so if we were going to think about how you might scale your project or your the solutions that you're coming up with for your problems, one of the things that Fabricant talks about is this idea of the gap, or multiple gaps that need to be bridged in order to make scale possible when we are looking at these wicked problems and trying to solve them. And so let me just talk about each of these briefly here. His first idea, the systems gap. He talked about, in the video, he talked about HIV in South Africa. At one point, infection rate was like 40%, pretty high. And so they were one of many organizations trying to work on solutions to that wicked problem, right? You can imagine that this is a very complicated, complex issue. How do you reduce HIV and AIDS infection there? Well, one of their solutions was through mobile technology. So creating this mobile messaging system that would message people about getting tested and also message them about the follow-up. And so basically it was a way to get people linked into the healthcare system there. And once you get linked into this healthcare system, then you can start to take care of the infection. So you've got, Fabricant says, you know, we look at trying to solve these wicked problems with the systems. And he says sometimes you have to look at the components of the system and take what is maybe a strong, efficient part of that system and deliver it, and that can help build momentum and so that you can attack the problem from in multiple ways later on. And so, so if we were thinking about you guys trying to address this systems gap, maybe thinking about what is it that is most effective and efficient about your project design. So let's just take a minute, and I want you to think about what would be most efficient and effective about your project design. So if you're going to scale this up, what component of that do you think might be most effective or efficient that if you were going to scale it to something bigger, what would that be? So let's take the dog fetch thing. What do you think what is it about your design that might be most efficient or effective? Is it that you've come to learn about it that might be most efficient?
That'll be universally attached to wheelchairs.
Okay, so that would be a big deal, right? Because then that could actually scale a lot easier, right? Because it could attach to all kinds of different things, and that's and do you have that solution, or pretty close to it, right?
Working on it, yeah.
Working on it, so yeah. If you get that, that's something that could really. How about you guys? Yours would be the classrooms, I guess, to scale to other kinds of buildings. What is it about your design? What's kind of a key aspect that you think could help scale something else?
Working specifically to certain classes.
Okay, maybe what?
Meaning, if you, for instance, management, right? So having more of a classroom that speaks to whatever the management department or in particular, or an engineering department or psychology department, whatever kind of classroom is specifically built to those.
So if you were going to start a consulting business with this, you would make sure that you talk to each department that's using it. Is it fitting their learning objectives?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. What Hilltop, do you guys have any thoughts? What would be most effective, efficient about what you guys are? Anything that could pop out?
The social media part of it.
Social media. Everybody uses social media. It could be transplanted to other communities. And if there's a way that you use that effectively here, it could be used effectively somewhere else. Second idea is the discipline gap. You know, you guys aren't probably the only teams that are working on these kinds of issues, right? Same with HIV in South Africa. There were lots of organizations working on trying to solve that. But there are different organizations have failures, and you don't necessarily hear about what's going on, right? Even as you started your project here, you started with the idea of research, trying to find out, well, what are other places doing? What are other organizations doing? What are other teams doing? And what we find, what Fabricant says, is there is so much learning that is lost in all this effort that is going on with designing solutions. And he says much of this is due to these two things, that we tend not to document what's going on. We tend, in our rush to be creative and to iterate, and as we're kind of changing things, we might not document it though. You guys are doing this with your design notebooks and things like that, right? But many of these organizations aren't documenting things, and they're failing to define things in a way so that if you are trying to solve something, you can't find that type of information out there, right? Even, for instance, take the dog catching idea, right? There's a lot of different names for the devices that are out there, and so some of these organizations are kind of speaking past each other. Wouldn't it be nice to have something that's a little bit more defined, that you could just go to these areas of research that you can more easily apply what's been done. So bringing this back to your project then, in terms of the definition aspect, can you state your innovation clearly in one sentence? Not your problem, but what is your innovation? What is it? What's your innovation? Can you state that in one sentence clearly? What would your innovation be then? I mean, I guess maybe it's easy application of a scuff prevention device. Maybe it's something like that, right? Because dipping it into a solution sounds very easy versus having to go, screw something on and try to find something that fits. You kind of just
Universal.
universal, yeah. So the universal aspect of that is probably the innovation, and that's the clear definition. So maybe with you guys, what would be your innovation in one sentence? So it's hard. It's hard. That's right. Right. That's what Fabricant is saying. Is it's hard sometimes to think of what that is. The more that you can, the more likely you are to be able to show to others that you made some kind of contribution. Right. All right. Let's go to the third idea, the evidence gap. This is similar, right? The idea here is we need to be measuring what's going on. He showed in his video his collection of the innovations and how they have improved business work processes and adoption of things and how employees have been helped. And with yours, you would be showing, how a community is helped and how teachers and students are helped. And what he says is we need both the qualitative and the quantitative side of this. And hopefully, as you're doing some of your testing, you might be able to get some feedback. But you probably won't get to that aspect of finding out what is the impact going to be 6 months out. Remember, I had you guys do that remembering the future idea and have you predict what people would say about your project. And wouldn't it be nice to find out what people say? You need to find a way to incorporate that. I'll give you an idea as to what you might be able to do if you are interested in following up with your project. Okay. So, to bring that idea to the evidence gap to your project, can you actually specify any clear evidence of success that supports this? Is it, maybe with you guys, once you do have your pamphlet, could you in fact just talk to a couple of your friends or something and see what their response is to say, is it, well, I didn't know they had that, right? Probably that's what they'll say. Or, hopefully they say something like that rather than, oh, I would never go do that. most likely they would say, oh, well, yeah, I'll go try, go down there. And that would be kind of some initial feedback that you share. Or, with your testing, you'll know, oh yeah, this works, people are gonna like this. And the last idea is the solution gap. How do you make this, how do you make this solution sustainable over time? Fabricant says you need to involve partners and think about, with the hilltop here, it would be, I suppose, making sure that, I guess it would be how do students continue to connect in. If you, finding out, well, how do those pamphlets or sign, how does that continue to give information to students? What about the businesses and how they end up responding to students? With you guys, it would be, how do professors actually end up interacting with, or maybe it's the designers as they build this over the summer? We'll find out, do they listen to you or do they just throw your stuff aside? Hopefully. Well, I mean, how do you get them to look at what you've done? I mean, talk to who are some of the decision makers. Maybe it's something, get it put in front of people, and they'll say, oh, this is actually student design, we should be doing stuff. And saying, I look at it as student oriented, right? So that's the idea. How do you create buy-in? Think about your stakeholders and how create that ongoing basis for innovation. That might be an interesting question that you might get as you are presenting at the showcase during finals week. There'll be some local businesses who come in and they might be saying, oh, this is kind of cool what you're doing. They might ask, well, how do you know your thing is going to get implemented? And if you kind of think through maybe how that buy-in might happen, you can talk about some of those relationships that you built and that you talk to, how you think it might end up working. Finally, on the scaling idea, there's these 5 R's that they talk about in order for scaling to be successful. And part of it is the idea ready? Is the idea going to be received well? Are the costs going to be problematic? I mean, you guys have all kind of thought about that in terms of building that into your design, right? What is the risks here if it fails? Are there negative consequences if you fail? There are some, if you go into some of these developing countries where you're implementing something, the risk for failure is probably pretty high because it's not a good thing. Probably risk of failure for your projects probably not so high, so that's good. But the returns are probably there, right? You can definitely serve your customers well. All right, last thing. This is about project measurement, right? This is something that I said that you're not necessarily going to be able to get to. But this is how you might think about measuring your project. Right? You can measure it in terms of the inputs that you have, right? How many resources that you've used, all of your time, different volunteering and all the facilities and equipment that you use. That can give you a sense of some measure as to what went into this. Then we have outputs. That's kind of the direct, how much work was accomplished, how many classrooms were affected. Maybe it's how many businesses were affected, how many students could potentially be affected, or classrooms for you guys as well. And then there's outcomes. Outcomes kind of comes of maybe even a little bit later than immediate outputs. And these are how do you know when people have been benefited by what you have done? Right? Have behaviors changed? Have skills been acquired? Or is there a new condition or a new status for you guys that would be, do people find that there is a broader awareness? Are people starting to use some of the businesses in the area? For you guys, it'll be, if your design is adopted, right, that would be your output. Your design is adopted, yes, right? And then it will be, is learning actually better? Are students more satisfied? Do they have a better experience? Are the teachers finding that they can do more things, right? So that would be the outcome that we would hope to have there. And that would be through the qualitative data, and maybe even there's some surveys that could be done that could show levels of happiness or something like that, right? So that's how this project measurement can work. You can even talk about, right, if we're trying to improve people's lives, here's a way of thinking about people's lives. Financially, are they better off? I mean, maybe, well, for your project, the scuffing, right? Financially is a big aspect of it, right? You're going to save on having to buy more chairs. Natural wise, I don't know if anybody is kind of environmental focused. Socially, is there definitely Hilltop expanding the interaction with the community, probably even being able to expand social interaction among students to human skills, professional development, physical, is something that could probably be, health could probably be included in this as well. So people's livelihoods could be changed in different ways.